That is what Batman needs to be. Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be another classic movie review for you guys, and this movie I'm going to be reviewing, this is the reason why I've been starting this series in the first place. Had I not been watching these movies, I wouldn't have even watched the first 4 Batman movies. I wouldn't have even touched them. Seriously, I wouldn't have, and finally, I have started these movies. I'm so happy I did. And this is going to be my review for the 2005 drama action classic Batman Begins. Yes, finally I have seen Batman Begins. Now, funny story about the Christopher Nolan movies. Funny story. Prior to this review, the only one I have seen is The Dark Knight Rises. I know. Yeah, it was weird. I didn't see The Dark Knight. I didn't see Batman Begins. But now I have them all on Blu-ray because my friend actually sent me the first 2 movies on Blu-ray, so now I have all of them and I can watch them. And finally, I've seen Batman Begins. And how was Batman Begins? Batman Begins is a masterpiece. This is everything I have wanted from Batman from the start. It gave me stuff I didn't want, but still loved about this movie. Honestly, this trilogy has the potential to become my favorite trilogy of all time. Honestly, it does. I have a feeling that I know The Dark Knight is going to be 10 times better than this, but I absolutely love everything about this movie. And let's just get into it because there's actually a lot to talk about with this movie. Let's get to the plot of Batman Begins, which is actually really interesting. I really do like the plot. The plot of Batman Begins is actually, after Bruce Wayne witnesses, his parents getting killed by this mugger, he pretty much is just not who, he pretty much just wants to murder him, but, pretty much he is just really scared of, going out there and avenging his parents' death, and he gets motivation from Ra's al Ghul in the League of Shadows, and this man, Henry Ducard, who basically helps him out. And eventually, they basically give him strength to become Batman. And, he finally gets strengthened to become Batman. And we see a lot more flashbacks of that. We see him go through that and basically the struggle he has with becoming Batman. And him taking down the Scarecrow, who is this brand new villain who is basically taken over Gotham City. And Gotham City is, corrupted and everything. And basically Batman has to take him down. That's basically plot of Batman Begins, and that's an awesome plot. Really, it is. There's a lot more beyond going on in the movie besides just that plot, and that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love this movie. Something about this movie is that it's not very simplistic at all. I know I said that I love simplistic movies, but these movies don't have to be simplistic because what this did was after the shit pile of just Batman Robin, this series needed a reboot. It needed a reboot, like, pronto, okay? It needed a reboot, but I like that they took a while to actually make this movie, and Christopher Nolan was probably the best person to make these movies, because when Christopher Nolan did Batman Begins, he wasn't exactly a known director. People just knew him as the guy that did Memento and The Prestige. That's really all they knew of Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan was not who he is today. Back then, he was just the guy that did these 2 movies that everyone loved, but they didn't really know too much about him. Unless you were like a die-hard fan of those movies, which back then a lot of people actually, they weren't. But basically, this movie is just fantastic. Let's get to the acting in this movie. The acting is something that just makes this movie so good. Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne and Batman. This is what I call a good, Batman. This is what Batman should have been all along. Seriously, it's what he should have been. Because for the first time in this movie, you don't just see Batman as just this guy in a suit. You actually see Bruce Wayne as this man that is really scared and really doesn't want to do what, really is very scared and kind of, worried about taking down, the man that killed, first, wants to take down the mugger, but then he gets shot, and he kind of just loses motivation after that, and it's really cool to see him as this really scared guy when you think of how Batman is. You actually forget you're watching a Batman movie. I think they did a really good job with showing Bruce Wayne as a regular man. You actually see how hard it is to become Batman. You see him training with, as I said, the League of Shadows. You see that, and he even, like, the first half of this movie, he doesn't become Batman until hour into the movie, and they perfectly handled that. And Christian Bale just perfectly portrayed everything he was going through, the emotion that Bruce Wayne was going through, the anguish. And then when he finally becomes Batman, you see him as this badass, this vigilante badass, but you also see him as a man who is doing the right thing for his city. He's the only one in his city that actually wants to step up and, like, do something about it. Everyone else is just so feared of, what to do in the city. I thought he perfectly played that character just to perfection, really. He played perfectly, and he was great. Also, Gus Lewis as young Bruce Wayne was great as well. I mean, this showed me things that I didn't really need to know, and I really love about this movie. Michael Caine as Alfred. This is what Alfred should have been. Not this ridiculous comedic Alfred that they tried to do in the first 4 movies. This is what we need to see with Alfred. The bond between Bruce Wayne and Alfred is one of the biggest parts of this series, honestly. Because you really see Alfred, he takes Bruce in, he really tries to be a father to him, and he tries to help him out as best as he can. You really see that love that he has for Bruce and everything, and I thought they just handled it perfectly, really. I've said it before, Michael Caine is fantastic in everything, but he just did a fantastic job as Alfred, really. He was fantastic in this movie, and he was great, really, he was, and I love how he tried to tell Bruce that it's not your fault your parents died, because he blames himself for his parents dying, he feels really upset about it, and Alfred tries to motivate him as best he can, and I thought they just handled that in a perfect way. Liam Neeson is awesome in this movie as Henry Ducard, essentially the man that trains, Bruce to become this vigilante and step up and fight, and just what he says to him is awesome. And there's a great twist within this movie that I absolutely love that I'm not going to talk about. I will talk about it in the spoilers because you kind of just have to talk about it. It's awesome. But he was absolutely fantastic in this movie, really. Liam Neeson did a fantastic job. He really was great. Katie Holmes, something about this movie is that while Bruce is extremely developed, that doesn't mean the other characters aren't as well. I was extremely surprised by how much Rachel Dawes was developed as a character, and Katie Holmes perfectly portrayed her. I mean, this is what we need to see from a Batman love interest, not just some girl that Bruce is with to just have a relationship with and keep a secret from. No, we need to see someone that actually has an impact, and Rachel Dawes actually does that. She's a district attorney fighting against corruption in the city, and she's really the only other person that wants to take a stand and do something about this. And Rachel and Bruce have been friends have been friends basically for life. They were childhood friends, and now he's finally seeing her again. She's like his love interest, and it really is a great story between them. I absolutely loved their story. I thought she did a fantastic job. The chemistry between them is fantastic, and she was great in the movie. She really was. I don't know why she was replaced in The Dark Knight. She was replaced, and I don't know why, but she was fantastic in this movie. She really was. Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon. This is what we need to see from Commissioner Gordon. Him fighting alongside Batman. What we didn't see in the original 4 movies was just Commissioner Gordon is just there, and this was perfect in this movie. Gary Oldman perfectly portrayed that character. I thought he did a great job. I love the character of Dr. Crane, that played by Cillian Murphy. He basically is the Scarecrow. He's the main villain in this movie. I love what he tries to do. He makes this drug that basically all your fears come out. It makes you very fearful and things like that, and it's so interesting, and I just thought that his character was just really, really interesting. I mean, he was essentially what was making everyone so scared. This drug was just going out to everyone, was making everyone terrified and everything, and he did a fantastic job with that role. He was fantastic in this movie. Also, Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox. Why couldn't he have been this movie from this series from the start? He is fantastic. He's the guy that makes the suits for Bruce. He's also so funny. I was surprised by how funny he was. He's like the comedic relief of this movie. He's so funny, and I thought he did a great job of that. He was fantastic. Also, Tom Wilkinson as Carmine Falcone is great. He's like the guy that basically has taken over Gotham and has made Gotham the crime-infested world that it is, and he did a fantastic job with that as well. Everyone was absolutely fantastic in this movie. Nobody gives a bad performance. Everyone was fantastic. The directing by Christopher Nolan, this is some of the best directing I think I have ever seen, really. It is amazing how much he turned around this series, because he took it from being a fun comic book movie to just a great movie in general. Something I love about this movie is that it is very dark. It is much darker and grittier and things like that, but it knows when to draw the line between dark and fun. It can be fun at times. You can have fun with this movie. You can. I mean, you can see there are some really awesome scenes in this movie, but Christopher Nolan, I think, just directed it all perfectly. I mean, he shows things that you don't necessarily, I didn't necessarily, think of how did Bruce react after his parents died. I didn't really think of that, but they portray it perfectly. I mean, we even see that Bruce was afraid of bats. That's something I thought was really interesting. Seeing Bruce so upset about his parents. I mean, there's a lot of this movie where we see Bruce's childhood and how upset he was about it. And I thought they handled that really well. Seeing him train with the League of Shadows was perfect. This was something that I don't think we ever saw in any Batman adaptation. Not even the cartoon series, I think, did this. And they just handled it perfectly in this movie. You know what it kind of made me wish? The way they handled Commissioner Gordon and Bruce in this movie, I wish they handled the TV show Gotham like that. I know Gotham's trying to do its own thing, but the way they handled it in this movie, I kind of wish they handled it that way in the TV series because they didn't handle it very well in the TV series in my opinion. But his directing was just perfect, flawless directing. I mean, honestly, it's one of the reasons why this series is so good. He completely turned around, and it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a comic book movie at all. Everything about this movie feels extremely realistic. Something I loved, that I forgot to say about the characters, that every character, they don't just feel like these characters in the movie that are just there to be there. There's no villains working together in this movie. There's no just random characters. Everyone is something of interest that is important to do to the story, and without them, the story wouldn't be nearly as interesting. And I love the way Christopher Nolan directed that. He also told the story in a very realistic way. You don't see these characters as just characters. You see them as real people. And also Gotham City, the way he portrayed it, it's not like some comic booky cheesy city. There's no cheesiness of this movie. Nothing about this movie is cheesy. Honestly, nothing about it is cheesy, and I absolutely love that. The way Christopher Nolan portrayed in this movie is just a regular city, some corrupted city. For example, Baltimore. Think what just happened in Baltimore. That's kind of like what Gotham City is like. I mean, definitely Baltimore doesn't compare to how bad Gotham City is, but it pretty much is portrayed like a real city, and I thought they handled that perfectly in this movie. I definitely really love that, I have to say. That was just perfect. Screenplay as well was perfect. It really was. Nothing was boring in this movie. There was not one time I was bored. Not one time I was like, I want to turn this off. I'm bored. This was the one Batman movie that I didn't skip a single scene. Every Batman movie before this, I at least skipped a couple scenes because I was kind of bored by them. That really was it. This movie, not a single scene I skipped, and that was awesome. I was surprised by that. I'm like, wow, I haven't skipped a single scene of this movie. That is awesome that I didn't do that, and the screenplay is just so real, and the dialogue is just so interesting. Everything is so interesting in this movie. I mean, there's some really great dramatic scenes as well. Everyone has, like, a standout moment, and it was just a fantastic, brilliant screenplay. It really was, I have to say. Cinematography is the best cinematography this stuff has ever had, honestly. The action scenes feel real. They don't feel superficial. I mean, just in the beginning, when you see him training with the League of Shadows, it's awesome to see. The action is just so great. It's violent. It's dark. It's gritty. It's realistic. It's everything you'd want to see in a Batman movie. It really is. And the bats looked awesome as well. I mean, there's a lot of scenes where like these bats flying through the sky. It's awesome. The action scenes are like edge of your seat. Like, there were so many times I was on the edge of my seat in this movie, and I absolutely love that. I thought that was awesome as well. And they did a fantastic job with the cinematography. Something else I forgot to say about this movie is that this movie is not just a great comic movie, it's an amazing movie in general, because it's not just some action movie. There's some real heart and drama to this movie. The first hour of this movie, it's a drama, and they handled that perfectly. I really think that was honestly the best way to handle it. Really, they did. The score by Hans Zimmer obviously is fantastic, but it's such a great score compared to the first four movies, you know, with the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like, that's a great score, but this is the real score to Batman. This was an awesome score, really it was. And also, something else I thought was perfect was the costumes in this movie. The costumes in the first four movies, they were good, but they really just felt like they were, like, cheaply made, and they were just movie costumes. This feels like actual real costumes, and they handled that in a very good way. I have to say, it was really well done. I mean, because of the first hour, and something that works so well in this movie is the editing. This movie is very slow paced, and I absolutely love how slow paced this movie was. The first hour, again, is him being trained by League of Shadows, and all this drama at Wayne Enterprises I thought was really interesting as well. I thought that was very well done, and it really works because when he finally puts on that Batman costume, it really feels like a big moment to the series. It really feels like, fuck yeah, he's turning into Batman, this is gonna be awesome, I can't wait. That really is what it felt like. It didn't feel like, oh, he's Batman. whatever. It actually felt like a huge triumphant moment, and I thought they handled that just perfectly with this movie. They really handled it into perfection. They really did. And the movie went by like that, really. I was into it the whole time. There's not one point where I was bored. I absolutely love this movie. I thought that was awesome. And also, the action scenes I said were awesome, but also the ending to this movie perfectly sets up The Dark Knight. I cannot wait for The Dark Knight. The way the movie ended, I cannot wait to watch The Dark Knight. Really, I can't. And now we get to spoilers. Now, these are major spoilers. The spoiler I'm going to talk about ruins a huge thing about the movie. If you guys haven't seen this movie, please do yourself a favor. Watch Batman Begins. It is the Batman movie you have been waiting for. You won't be disappointed. Don't even watch the first 4 movies. You haven't seen the first 4 movies, don't even watch them. They're not worth watching compared to this movie. Watch this movie. First movie's fine, but don't even, like, that's not even, even that movie is nothing compared to this, really. This is the best comic movie I think I've ever seen. It really is. And I know that's going to change when I see Dark Knight Rises, but this movie is just fantastic. Just watch it. It's great, and you'll love it, really. So now we'll get into spoilers. Okay. So, the twist with Ra's al Ghul is genius, honestly. That is a genius twist, and I didn't see it coming at all. When we saw Henry Ducard and everything, I'm like, okay, this guy is really interesting. He kind of looked like Ra's al Ghul, though, from Arrow. I will say that. If you think of Arrow, how they portrayed Ra's al Ghul on Arrow, by the way he's portrayed in this movie, that's how he should have been portrayed in Arrow. I wish he was portrayed this way, the way he was in this movie, and less on how he was in Arrow. This is how Ra's al Ghul should have been portrayed. But he actually kind of looked like Ra's al Ghul, and I knew something was up about Ken Watanabe's character. I mean, he wasn't really helping him much. He was there in the background, but he really wasn't helping much. You'd think if he was Ra's al Ghul, he'd be training him more, but really it was more Henry Ducard that was helping him. So when we found out that Henry Ducard was actually Ra's al Ghul in hiding, that was a brilliant twist. I absolutely loved it. I thought that was awesome. And then when the action just kept going on and things like that, that was just awesome. The way he teamed up with the Scarecrow to take down Batman, everything. I mean, it was just perfectly handled. In that last action scene, it was awesome, really it was. I didn't know what was gonna happen, and I thought I really thought Rachel was gonna die for a second. I really thought that was gonna happen, and that was awesome. The ending of the movie, I thought was just perfectly handled. The way Batman's now a public hero, but unfortunately, he can't be with Rachel, and I like that this movie doesn't make everything like just, oh my god, everything's so happy. No, he doesn't get to be with Rachel, because she just can't be with him now. He's Batman. They just need to take a break. I like that she wasn't like, oh, fuck you. No, she was like, I just can't be with you. Maybe in the man I fell in love with, you're not that man anymore. Maybe in a few years, I'll like you again. But I thought that was interesting the way they handled that. I thought that was definitely very well done, and I really like that. When Lucius Fox, became the, basically became the lieutenant of the Gotham police force. You know how Gordon was promoted to the Gotham police force, and Fox was replaced to the controlling stake in the now publicly traded Wayne Enterprises. That was hilarious. I love that. I thought that was awesome. When he took over and he's like, I'm taking over. That was awesome. And then the last scene with Commissioner Gordon, I thought they handled that perfectly as well. I thought that was definitely very well done. Really set up for The Dark Knight, and I can't wait for that movie. I know it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see how The Dark Knight is. So overall, guys, I absolutely love Batman Begins. It is an absolute masterpiece. It is just a perfect movie. It really is. I didn't think this movie was going to be as perfect as it was, but it really was perfect. I mean, something I love about this movie is that it takes it from a small little comic book movie to a hero's journey. That's what this movie is. This is a hero's journey. His transformation to Batman, it's amazing to watch. You care about his character. They handled it perfectly, and I couldn't have asked really for anything better than this movie, really, and I can't wait for the next 2 movies. I know they're going to be awesome. And again, I feel like it's going to be my favorite trilogy of all time. So basically, guys, that's it for my review, Batman Begins. Let me know if you guys saw this movie, you have seen it. Please, if you haven't seen this movie, see it. It's amazing. And we'll see you guys in the next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Girl Meets World, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.